Good morning, everyone. Thank you being here today. I'd like to share with you my research on a topic in the deeply concerns many music learners, yet often goes outspoken performance anxieties. As a music student myself, I've witnessed how anxieties can significantly affect not only the qualities of a performance, but also a student's long-term confidence and motivations. My research is tied to mindfulness in music learning. It says performance anxieties. It explores how mindfulness, a practice roots in awareness and acceptance of the present moment, might serve as an effective no-inception strategies to help music students cope with the psychological challenges of performance. Let's begin to exploring the background of these issues and why it deserves more attention in today's music education. Before I begin, here's a quick overview of today's presentation. I will first introduce the research background and research questions. Then I will walk you through the theoretical framework and relevant literature. Next, I will explain the methodology and share some key findings from the plot interviews I conduct. Finally, we will discuss what these findings suggest, following by reflections and conclusions. First, let me begin by introducing the core concepts and the context of my research. First one is, what is the music performance anxieties? Music performance anxieties, or MPA, is a statistical type of social anxieties that arise in the context of musical performance. It's more than just feeling nervous. MPA can significantly impact a musician's physical coordinations, memories, confidence, and overall enjoyment of playing music. According to a systematic reviews published in Psychological Medicines, the prevalence of MPA among professional musicians ranges from 16.5% to 16%. The study also found that women and younger musicians report higher levels of MPA compared to their older competitors. Second one is, what is mindfulness? Mind- Mindfulness is the practice of maintaining awareness of the present moment with acceptance and without judgment. It involves focusing attention on one's current experience, including thoughts, emotions, and body sensations in a non-reactive way. A study conducted by General Universities found that an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program lead to significant reductions in an, anxiety symptoms. The third question is research purpose. Despite the high prevalence of MPA and the promoting result of mindfulness interventions for generate anxieties. Research on applying mindfulness specifically to music performance anxieties is limited. This gap highlights the need to explore whether mindfulness-based strategies can effectively support musicians, especially students, in managing MPA. Although various techniques have been explored to manage MPA, there's still limits empirical research significantly examined mindfulness as a changes intervention for musicians. Understanding its impact can contribute to more holistic and acceptable anxiety management strategies in music education and performance. However, its specifically effectiveness in the context of music performance anxieties has not been sufficiently explored. Therefore, my research seeks to explore the following questions. Can mindfulness practice effectively reduce music performance anxiety among musicians? To better understand this, let's first look at the theoretical framework that support mindfulness interventions. Let's quickly review the extensive research that informed my study. There are three things. First one is mindfulness in performing arts. Second is music performance anxieties. The third one is mindfulness in education. And there is the brief literature. The press encourage findings, research specifically addressing mindfulness practice for musicians remains limited, which create a clear gap that my research aim to explore. Following the literature reviewed, it became clear that music performance anxieties and the role of mindfulness are deeply personal and emotional complete experience. This naturally led me to choose a qualitative research approach. Rather than seeking broad statistical patterns, this study aimed to explore the inner expressions, thoughts, and feelings of music studies, how they perceive anxieties, the student, and how mindfulness might influence their emotional stage and coping strategies. There are questions that require open-ended, explorative methods. Qualitative research offers the depth and sensitive needs to uncover their hidden layers. It allows us to understand not only what students experience, but why and how they make sense of it, or within their specifically learning and performance context. Additionally, as a small-scaled exploratory project, qualitative methods are more feasible and operated. They also aligned with previous students like temple work on student anxiety experience and mindfulness as a personal coping methods. Both of these studies successfully used interviews and systemic analysis to capture Nathan's subjective realities. In short, qualitative research invariably they study to state human constants, emotional focus, and contextually grounded. To explore how young music students experience and manage performance anxieties, I conduct semi-structured interviews with 8 students aged 18 to 25. They respond a range of instruments, including violin, piano, flute, and voice, and had between 1 to 5 years to experience performance on stage. The interview's questions were organized around three main themes. Themes one focus on common scores of performance anxieties. I will ask students what situation made them most nervous and what they fear the most, such as making mistake during a performance or feeling pressures from the audience. Team 2 explore the coping strategies students use. Team 3 is address their awareness and understanding of mindfulness. Those teams guided the structure of my research and helped uncover meaningful insights into how students' perspectives and respond to performance anxieties. To render in-depth perspective, I designed a semi-structured interviews guided consisting of three parts. Part 1 is warm-up questions, 2 is main interview questions, Part 3 is closing following art. And the interesting observations as I review the interview's response, some surprising and even pathological patterns emerge. First, many students report that they practice more when they feel anxious, believing it helps them prepare. But inoculatively, too much prepare sometimes backfired. It increases pressures and lead to mental fatigue, which one worsens their anxieties. Second, several students share that they deal with stress in a more expected way by playing video games, watching Netflix, or just zooming out with music. Those strategies help them ditch. They don't always solve the root issues. And finally, a very clear seems encouraging. Most students had not clear idea what mindfulness actually is. Some those is just mean relaxing or doing nothing, while other and never even hear that. Those insights give me the foundation to design a follow-up questions and also inspire the focus of my data analysis. And now let's take a close look at some visuals findings from the interviews and surveys. The first one, this pit chart show the main strategies students use to measure their performance analysis. Half of the students relate intensive practice as their primary methods, hoping that preparations will reduce their anxieties. 13% choose entertainment or relations activities, such as watching movies or playing games, to shift their focus. 15% talk to family or friends, using social support as a way to feel emotionally grounded. And only 5% mentions that methods like meditations, indicating that mindfulness-based approaches are still related use or recognitions among students. This highlights a strong relations and conversational methods and a lack of awareness about analytic tools like mindfulness. The, the preliminary findings from the interviews several. And this one is awareness of mindfulness technique among the students. The majority of students have little to no awareness of mindfulness technique, indicating a potential gap in corporate resources for performance analysis. The preliminary findings from the interviews reveals a strong correlation between students and anxiety levels and their choosing coping strategies. Students experience high levels of performance anxieties are most likely to rely on intensive practice in preparations for public performance. While these methods aim to increase confidence through muscle memories, it may also reinforce a cycle of anxieties. In contrast, students with moderating or low anxieties tend to use more leisure-based strategies, such as play games, listen music, or watching movie to relax and regulate their emotions. And the PChat revelates that 15% of performance students primarily relate on increased practice to cope with performance anxieties. However, these methods, while effective for technical improvements, may further contribute to stress. Meanwhile, 40% of students preferred entertainment-based relaxing methods, such as playing games, listening to music, or watching movies, increasing only 10% showed any awareness or understanding of mindfulness, highlight a significant gap in knowledge about potential effects, psychology coping strategies. The benefit findings increasing technique confidence. First one, many students report that constant practice strengthens their technique skills, give them more confidence before performance. Second one is shortens emotional reflex. Activities such as gaming, listening music provide quick stress release, helping students temporarily ditch from performance pressures. And third one is sense of control. Establishing a thought practice routines allowed students to feel more in control and reduce uncertainty about their readiness. The last one is building the released. Students who consistently combined with lecture activities exhibits better emotional balance over time. Also, while some students report benefits such as the focus on emotion balance from activities and like deep breathings or like mindfulness practice, but my finding also relieve significant challenges. Firstly, many students still rely heavily on intensive practice as their primary strategy. Although this may improve technical performance, it often leads to increased stress or boredom, especially when performance is involved. Secondly, most students showed low awareness or understanding of mindfulness. Even when asked, several participants weren't sure that mindfulness meant or how it could apply to music practice. Lastly, some students express that they struggling to trust unstructured methods, fearing that may not be as effective as practice-based routines. This mindedness may limit their willingness to explore or adopt with new coping strategies. Those observations highlight that while performance anxiety is widely experienced, effective and diverse coping strategies are not equals known or utilized. This leads us to deeper discussions on how mindfulness might be integrated into music education to fix this gap. On this slide, I would like to introduce the iceberg model, which help us understand the complex nature of performance anxieties. Like an iceberg, we will see on the surface trembling hand, forgetfulness, or a shaking voice are just the visible symptoms. However, below the surface lies a deeper emotional world, fear of failure, shame, pressures, and self-doubt. And even deeper at the roots are psychological causes such as performance needs, low self-esteem, and understaffed childhood experience. The model reminds us that performance anxieties is not only about what happens on stage, but about what performance carried within. Importantly, mindfulness doesn't just change surface symptoms. Instead, it works on the deeper layers, helping performance become aware of their emotional, regulate stress, and change the ways they relate to fear and pressures. Understanding this framework can help editors and performers develop more effective emotion support systems. Now that we go through the funding, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on what they actually mean. These discussions help us contest the noise between what students say, what they do, and how we can support them better. First one is interpretations of kit fundings. We find that students with high level of performance anxieties tend to relate heavily on respective practice to fair prepare. However, this often leads to a circle of increasing stress. Income stress students with low anxiety was more likely to engage in relaxing activities. Second is implications for music education. Those findings suggest that technical practice alone is not enough. Music educators should also address the emotional and psychology aspect of performance. By introducing mindfulness or other self-education strategies into music training, we may help students perform with more confidence and less fear. Third one is limitations. Of course, it is a small scale exploratory study. The sample size is limited to only 8 students, all from the same institutions. So while the funding are interesting, we should be interesting. So we should be cutting story about generalizing STEM. The last one is future directions. In the future, I hope to expand this study to include students from different schools and cultural backgrounds. Also, it will be valuable to test a short mindfulness-based intervention and measures whether it actually helps reduce anxiety before performance. In these final seasons, I would like to reflect on what I have learned from this small-scale research project and what it may suggest for future studies. First, I realized that performance anxiety is not just a surface-level issues. Many students experience visible symptoms like trembling or memory lapses, but these are only the tips of the iceberg. Brings the surface like emotions such as fear of judgment, lack of confidence, and even past negative experience. Increasingly, while more students try to cooperate with anxiety by preparing more, this often leads to a cycle of stress and fatigue. Very few students were aware of emotional self-regulation technique like mindfulness, and those had received performance guidance in this area. This makes me reflect on the importance of technique-grounded emotional awareness into music education. Mindfulness-based interventions could be a gentle and acceptable method to help students manage stress before performance. Going forward, I believe that is great value in developing short, structures, mindfulness, seasons, design is specifically for music learners. Also, further research with a broader Pacific participants basis could provide stronger evidence. Overall, this research not only helped me understand the topic is better, but also allowed me to grow as a reflective learner and a more empathetic musician. And there is the reference. That is my all presentations, and thank you so much.